Hi dear students and welcome to my tutorial. In our today's tutorial we'll be learning about the English, Nios English Senior Secondary code number 302, chapter number 8, a case of suspicion. So let's read about it. He threw back the covers and sat up on his bed, his feet feeling along the cold floor for his house slippers. The telephone ringing insistently a little distance away. He turned on the light and walked to the phone and took down the receiver. "This is Dr. Benson," he said. The November wind was bringing sounds of winter as it blew around the little white house. The doctor got into his clothes. He went into the table and stared a moment at his watch, his spirit complaining at the job ahead of him. 2 o'clock. His mind also complained at the horrible hour, and he wondered why children had to be born at such improper times. He took up 2 small handbags, the short pill bag, as the people of the town knew it, and the long obstetrical case. The baby bag, they called it. Doctor Benson stopped a moment to light and then put the bag of cigarettes in his overcoat pocket. The wind felt like a surgeon's knife at his face as he opened the door and ran bending down around the driveway to the garage. His car started with difficulty, coughed half a dozen times as he drove down the driveway, but then began to run more smoothly as he turned down Grass Street and on the deserted highway. Mrs. Otsorley, who Dr. Benson was on his way to visit, already had almost a dozen of children, but it seemed to the doctor that never once had she had a baby in good weather, nor in daylight. And while Dr. Benson was a country doctor, he was still a young man and couldn't find the pleasure that his father, the old dog Benson, had found in seeing aught. The father always 2 or 3 babies behind in payment of his baby bills. You have in test question that you can solve. Now we come to the second part of the story. How do you think the story proceeds? Will it be about Mrs. or Mr. Sorley, or will there be a chance of meeting with someone else? Read ahead to find out. It was a long ride to the Sorley farm, and the sight of a man walking along the road, alone along the road, country road, as seen just ahead by the lights of the car, was a welcome relief to the doctor. He slowed down and looked at the man, walking along with difficulty against the wind, a little package under his arm. Coming alongside, Dr. Benson stopped and invited the man to ride. The man got in. "Are you going far?" asked the doctor. "I'm going all the way to Detroit," said the man, a rather thin man with small black eyes filled with tears from the wind. "Could you give me a cigarette?" Dr. Benson unbuttoned his coat, then remembered the cigarettes in the outer pocket of his overcoat. He took out the packet and gave it to the rider, and who then looked in his own pockets for a match. When the cigarette was lighted, the man held the packet a moment, then asked, "Do you mind, mister, if I take another cigarette for later?" The rider shook the packet to remove another cigarette without waiting for the doctor to answer. Dr. Benson felt a hand touch his pocket. "I'll put them back in your pocket," the little fellow said. Dr. Benson put his hand down quickly to receive the cigarettes and was a little irritated to find them already in his pocket. A few minutes later, Dr. Benson said, "So you're going to the Detroit? I'm going to look out for for a work in one of the automobile plants." "Are you a mechanic?" asked the doctor. "More or less. I've been driving a truck since the war ended, but I lost my job about a month ago." "Were you in the army during the war?" "Yeah, I was in the ambulance section, right up at the front, drove an ambulance for 4 years." "And is that so?" said Dr. Benson. "I'm a doctor myself. Dr. Benson is my name." "I thought this car smells like pills." The man laughed. Then he added more seriously, "My name is Evans." They rode along silently for a few minutes, and the rider moved himself in his seat and placed his package on the floor. As the man leaned over, Dr. Benson caught his first good look at the small cat-like face. The doctor also noticed the long deep scar on the man's cheek, bright and red, looking as though it were of recent origin. He thought of Mrs. Orley, sort of what Orley, and reached for his watch. His fingers went deep into his pocket before he realized that his watch was not there. In test question, you can solve that out. Number 3, did the doctor like even small cat-like face and bright fresh scars? Would you have thought well of Evans? What do you think will happen next? Dr. Benson moved his hand very slowly and very carefully below the seat until he felt the leather holster, in which he always carried with him his automatic pistol. He drew out the pistol slowly and held it in the darkness at his side. Dr. Benson stopped the car quickly and pushed the nose of the gun into the Evans side. The rider jumped with fear and put up his hands quickly. "My God, mister," he whispered, "I thought you..." Dr. Benson pushed the pistol still deeper on the man's side and repeated coldly, "Put that watch in my pocket before I let this gun go off." Evans put his hand in his own vest pocket and later, with trembling hands, tried to put the watch into the doctor's pocket. With his free hand, Dr. Benson pushed the watch down into his pocket. He opened the door and forced the man out of the car. "I'm out here tonight probably to save women's life, but I took time out to try to help you," he said to the man angrily. Dr. Benson started the car quickly and the wind closed the door with a loud noise. He put the pistol back into the leather holster under the seat and hurried on. The drive, the drive up the mountain to the Sorley farm was less difficult than he had feared, and Ot Sorley had sent one of his older boys down the road with a lantern to help him cross across the old wooden bridge and led up to the little farmhouse. Mrs. Sorley's many previous experiences with bringing children into the world apparently helped her greatly because she has delivered this child with little difficulty, and there was no need on Dr. Benson's part for the instruments in the long bag. After it was all over, however, Dr. Benson took a cigarette and sat down to smoke. In test question 8.3, you can solve that. Was the doctor right in turning Evans out in the cold? Do you think he will ever know whether he was right or wrong? Was the case of suspicion justified? Let's read. "A fellow I picked up in my car on my way up here tonight tried to rob me," he said to Ott, feeling a little proud. "He took my watch, but when I pushed my 0.45 pistol into his side, he decided to give it to me back." Ott smiled wide at such an exciting story coming from young Dr. Benson. "Well, I'm glad he gave it back to you," Ott said, "because if he hadn't, we wouldn't have an idea what time the child was born. What time would you say it happened, Doc?" Dr. Benson took the watch from his pocket. "The baby was delivered about 30 minutes ago, and right now it's..." He walked over the lamp on the table. He stared strangely at the watch in his hand. The crystal was cracked. The top was broken. He turned the watch over and held it closer to the lamp. He studied the worn inscription here: "To Private T. Evans, Ambulance Section, whose personal bravery preserved our lives the night of November 3, 1943, near the Italian front. Nurses Nesbit, Jones, and Vignette." The story by E. Velas. So this is question number, index question 8.4. You can solve and overall questions related to this. So basically the story was due to this hurry of the call from Mrs. Otsorley regarding the delivery, Dr. Benson actually forgot his watch back in the home, and that is the reason he was under the still thought that the watch is in his bag or in his pocket, and he acted in such a strange way with Evans that when he was looking for his watch seriously, he thought since it is in his pocket, whereas it was in the home, he thought that the watch is missing and he thought that Evans had stolen the watch. So basically, it was the watch for the Evans. So, out of scared of the gun pointing on his head, obviously Evans gave his watch, but he wasn't a stealer. He was a good person. Now, vocabulary enrichment, you can just put up the words in there. You can take the help. Grammar, I think it's indirect speech, the way how we learned last time also, just indirect. It's person speaking as third person. So it's easy. You people can continue this also in a good way. Check out the answers behind. Interrogative, asking questions. Let's write. You can just go through this report writing. So basically, report writing is nothing but you explain an incident of what had happened. It's just one paragraph and you write, just like essay what happened, but it doesn't have an introduction, body, conclusion. It just has one paragraph, one story, and you join all introduction, body, conclusion together in one paragraph and report an incident. Just say what happened. So you say, one day while I was traveling, one day during this, or on so and so, or on 21st of October, so and so took place. So just like you explain a report that happens in just one paragraph. That's it. There's nothing else to be gone through over here, and you can check your answers at the back also. So stay tuned for another lesson. Thank you.